The president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, is coming to the White House tomorrow, April 14th. He is coming to the White House on the heels of the Supreme Court announcing that Donald Trump and the administration need to bring back the man that they wrongfully sent, Kilmar Abrego. He is showing up to the White House in the middle of a massive controversy between our two countries in regards to the hundreds of men that the Trump administration has sent to a El Salvadorian prison. Trump regime is sending hundreds of men to an El Salvadorian prison that we, the taxpayers, are paying for. The U.S. is paying El Salvador $6 million to jail hundreds of Venezuela gang suspects, pennies on the dollar. Not only are we paying $6 million to send these men without due process to an El Salvadorian prison known for extreme human rights violations, the Trump regime is acting like they're doing us a favor. Just today, Marco Rubio announced more kidnappings and disappearings of people. Last night, another 10 criminals from the MS-13 and Tren de Aragua foreign terrorist organizations arrived in El Salvador. The alliance between POTUS and President Nayib Bukele has become an example for security and prosperity in our hemisphere. They claim that there's some kind of alliance between our two countries, but when SCOTUS ruled that Trump needs to bring back Abrego, he said, it's out of our hands. They belong to El Salvador now. So we either have an alliance where you can talk to this man, or you're just sending people to die in a foreign country with no recourse. The Supreme Court agreed 9-0, by the way, that this man needs to be returned. You don't see decisions like that in our very divided Supreme Court. And of course, the Trump administration is responding by basically, like I said, acting like it's out of their hands. And here is Caroline Leavitt at a recent press briefing saying that because they use the word facilitate the return, that actually means they don't need to do anything.
Salvador is coming to the White House on Monday. Does President Trump want him to bring Kilmar Abrego Garcia with him?
The Supreme Court made their ruling last night very clear that it's the administration's responsibility to facilitate the return, not to effectuate the return. I believe the Department of Justice just filed another brief in the lower court. I would defer you to that for any updates. But as you mentioned, President Bukele will be here at the White House on Monday to talk about the cooperation that is at an all-time high. And we very much appreciate President Bukele and El Salvador's cooperation in the repatriation of El Salvadorian gang members who the previous administration allowed to infiltrate our country.
And a lot of people are theorizing that they don't want to bring Abrego back because he is dead. And honestly, that wouldn't surprise me. There is a very real possibility that these men are just being sent to die because then they can never speak out about what happened to them. But in my opinion, I think they are just pushing the courts to see how far they will let them go. Because their plan, which in this next clip I'll show you, is to deport American citizens.
So the president has discussed this idea quite a few times publicly. He's also discussed it privately. You're referring to the president's idea for American citizens to potentially be deported. These would be heinous, violent criminals who have broken our nation's laws repeatedly. And these are violent, repeat offenders in American streets. The president has said, if it's legal, right? If there is a legal pathway to do that, he's not sure. We are not sure if there is. It's an idea that he has simply floated and has discussed very publicly as in the effort of transparency.
I'll save you some time, Carolyn. Now, I'm no lawyer, but I probably know more about this than the actual lawyers on the Trump team. There's this pesky little thing called the Constitution, which means that you can't deport American citizens to a concentration camp in El Salvador. But the thing about the Trump administration, they don't care about the Constitution. They will rip it to shreds, rewrite it, and they will send all of us to concentration camps in El Salvador. They are so excited about this idea of mass deportations that the ICE director is even saying that he wants deportations Amazon Prime style. ICE director envisions Amazon-like mass deportation system, Prime, but with human beings. Trump immigration officials tout expanding the Alien and Enemies Act while courting private contractors for mass removals. The leader of Immigration and Customs Enforcement said that his dream for the agency is squads of trucks rounding up immigrants for deportation the same way that Amazon trucks crisscross American cities delivering packages. We need to get better at treating this like a business, Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons said, explaining he wants to see a deportation process like Amazon Prime, but with human beings. Lyons was one of a series of Trump administration speakers at the 2025 Border Security Expo at the Phoenix Convention Center, including Tom Homan, Trump's border czar, and Kristi Noem, the Secretary of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Most extolled Trump's use of the Alien Enemies Act to deport Venezuelans, and Noem promised to expand its use to swiftly deport immigrants. Several speakers, including Homan, told the military-industrial complex representatives in the crowd that the Trump administration is depending on the private sector to implement its mass deportation agenda. They are planning on spending tens of millions of dollars to build concentration camps in the United States. So on top of deporting people to El Salvador, they are going to be building tent cities here using the military and private contractors. And just so everyone is clear about what's happening in this concentration camp in El Salvador, here is a short clip of the Time journalist who was there when these men were taken.
One of the Venezuelans who caught Holsinger's attention was this man, who 60 Minutes has now identified as Andre Hernandez Romero. Andre's lawyer told us he is a 31-year-old gay man and makeup artist with no criminal record in the United States or Venezuela.
So this is a young man that I had followed from the bus who was exclaiming that he was soy gay and saying that he was innocent. And he was, being slapped every time he would speak up, but he just, like he couldn't help himself. Then he started praying and calling out, literally crying for his mother. His crying out for his mother really, touched me.
This man's heinous crime was being an asylum seeker from Venezuela who had the audacity to get mom and dad tattooed on his wrist. And for that, the Trump administration sent him to die in El Salvador. And what's really unfortunate is the Supreme Court is only focused on one of these men, Abrego, which he needs to be released. The Trump administration even admitted that it was a mistake, but they are walking that back and claiming that the only mistake was that he was actually MS-13, not Trende Aragua.
American people should know who this individual is. He's not some Maryland father, as the mainstream media will make you believe. He's actually a member of MS-13 and was involved in human trafficking. It's unbelievable, the framing of this. Whether this man is in El Salvador or in a U.S. detention center, he should be locked up. And people should also know who MS-13 is. It is a gang that rapes, maims, and kills Americans for sport. They should not be on U.S. soil, and any media outlet who tries to make him a darling or a victim should really be ashamed, because the American people do know better.
But again, those are just lies. There is no proof or evidence that this man is MS-13. And honestly, even if he was, this cruelty is insane. I reference Aaron Rachelin Melchick a lot, and this is what he had to say. This is wild. There are no accusations in court at all that Mr. Abrego was involved in human trafficking. ICE and DOJ have said nothing like that to the judge. In fact, no one has ever accused him of that. This entire claim appears to have been invented by the White House. The facts don't matter to these people. I think it was J.D. Vance that tweeted out that he's not a good guy because he has some traffic tickets. And on right-wing radio, they were also laughing about that, saying that he shouldn't have gotten those traffic tickets, like that put him on the radar, and just laughing at him being sent to a concentration camp where he is being tortured. And meanwhile, his family and his attorney have no idea what his status is. They have not heard from him. Here is his lawyer saying that.
And your position is you know nothing about his current state?
No, neither we nor the family have been able to make any contact with him. This is one of the principal human rights violations that occurs in that facility, is that inmates and detainees in that facility are held incommunicado.
So yeah, we actually don't know the status of any of these men. That is a main proponent of this concentration camp, is they are thrown to the wolves. The last we've really seen of them is those horrific images that Time photographer captured. And when Kristi Noem went to this concentration camp to do a photo op, Yeah, that's Kristi Noem in front of a bunch of shirtless men. Maybe some of them are criminals. Maybe some of them are just gay hairdressers. We probably will never freaking know. And another fun fact, on right-wing radio, they were laughing and like, oh, all these shirtless men, that's who you think are innocent. The entire video is available of her trip, and it is very audibly heard somebody telling these men to take off their shirts before she takes this picture. It is all propaganda. It is all by design to invoke fear and dehumanize people so that a large majority of the country just turns a blind eye or thinks it's okay. Maybe not a majority. I refuse to believe that the majority of this country is okay with this behavior. But the people that are make me sick to my stomach. The laughter and the jokes about these men is horrifying, especially considering it's not just men. Like, yeah, mainly men are being sent to this El Salvadorian prison, but women are being deported. Children are having to deal with ICE trying to come into their schools in LA, and these ICE agents are lying to these children and saying that they were given permission from their parents to talk to them. Like, this is a nightmare. What's funny is Nayib Bukele spoke at CPAC in February of last year, and he issued a warning that I know for him was coming from a place of fear of socialism, of wokeness, or whatever. But he made the boiling frog metaphor, and I think it is very apt for where we are right now.
As your friend, I want to issue this warning so you don't make the same mistakes we did in the 60s and the 70s. It is not easy to pull yourself back once you're in boiling water. In fact, all the experts said it was impossible. And besides, you don't want to wait 50 years and maybe hope for a miracle to get out of hell. You can still jump before the water boils.
Well, President Bukele, you're not wrong. But the great thing is, the creators of hell are both going to be at the White House tomorrow. President Bukele will be visiting with Donald Trump to discuss these deportations. I think we need to see mass mobilization outside of the White House tomorrow, and to continue Bukele's metaphor, demand that the two people boiling the water turn the stove off. There is a mass evil that has taken over our country, and it is not immigrants. It is these scared propagandists at the top who use dehumanizing language and are disappearing people off of the streets and ripping them from their families. These men need to be held accountable for what they have done. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for more content.